Always good to see you.
I like your new abode here.
I'm in abode on the Shankill Road lived a man called William Bloat. He had a wife, the curse of his life, and he slit her bloody throat.
Something like that.
Something like that.
Yes.
You're very kind in recognizing my ineloquence in this matter.
Oh,
what class of machine is that you've got in your knee?
Well, it's actually a guitar. There's
Wow.
a young man called Nathan Carter that you probably know.
I've heard of Nathan Carter.
Nathan was not Nathan Carter. Nathan Ball.
Nathan Ball. Yeah.
He was making. He wanted to make me a guitar.
Has Nathan made this?
He did, yes.
I know this man. Is he in Ireland at the moment? No?
No, he's not.
No, I would love him on the programme. Nathan is making stuff of that quality.
He is, yeah. It's beautiful.
Wow.
And
Wow.
he wanted to make me a guitar, and I said, well, if you're going to make me a guitar, Nathan, make me one not the same as millions of all the guitars.
No,
this is
bit
different. So it's kind of a little bit like the Zuki Citroen type of family, you know.
And it sits snugly on the spread-eagled legs.
Exactly.
You're well positioned.
On the legs of the eagle.
Wow,
yes.
Indeed. Look at that. Goodness gracious.
Yes.
And what class of music will that play?
Well, anything that you ask
Anything.
it, really.
Hello. What would you be thinking of starting us off with? Would you be thinking of that?
Because of that very quick change over there, Rowan, I think...
what have you got the rest of the stuff with you there, have you?
I know, I've got a...
I hope you have the book. You have the book, I know that.
I have a book here somewhere.
Oh, bring it in there, for
Fish
goodness
and chips
sake.
in there as well, Rowan.
I love it.
It's
getting more and more difficult to get a good fish and chips these days.
You know, I saw two crows sharing a fish and chip this morning in Worm Point.
You know something?
In the middle of the street.
And they were talking?
They were.
Oh,
and cars going past, and they didn't
wow.
give two hoots.
They didn't, not a hoot was given, not
No.
even one. But the thing about it, you see, I was looking at a thing, crows. I saw a thing on this Facebook. I'm getting to know this Facebook thing.
Yes.
And the thing about Facebook is people, they have deified angels on it. And I've had to say, look, are there a crowd of celestial nutcases out there believing in these angels? I think we are our angels. We've got to be angels to each other. And if you're walking around with your head in the clouds looking for angels, you're going to trip over the need that's at your feet.
Yes. It could be a devil that might come in,
Do you know what I'm
flying
telling you?
in backways.
So I think it needs to be watched. But the crow, and what they said on it, this woman, she put a thing on, she was shooting a picture out of her back window, and there was a sheep. And the sheep was there, and it had two, and the Ryan Road will make you aware of this, the sheep had two jackdaws, or what would they call them? They're kind of jackdaws standing on the back of the sheep.
Yes,
and the woman waxed poetic, and she said, "Isn't it lovely? Look how beautiful a picture this is." And I said, "Yeah, shoot the bastards for the lambs. What are they going to do to the lambs? The jackdaw will come and pick the eyes out of the lamb."
Well, I don't think they'd be that bad now. Well, there would be the odd jackdaw that would do that, but I think they'd be wanting to get some wool for their nest, or maybe knit a
that's why
jumper.
they'd be on the back, yeah.
That's right.
But there was a woman in Carlingford a long time ago, you wouldn't believe this. She would go out and walk the land. She'd walk the field, down past the haggard, down the lane and round and back up again. And she'd pick bits of wool off the fence, off the barbed wire fence, and she'd take it home and she'd card it or whatever it is they do with it, blom 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 blom, and she would use this to make gloves with it, and that's what she did. Can you believe that?
Yes, you know, making use of everything.
But you would have seen that on the Ryan Road where you were brought up, Tommy.
Yeah, people used everything. You know, I mean, for us to go to Newry to get something, for example, if a spade get broken or something, and you have to change the shaft of the spade. Well, you could spend the whole day going to Newry
for that,
or else just cut something out of the hedge.
Yeah.
So people use things, and they never threw anything away. There was a saying that you should keep something for 7 years before you throw it away, because it might come in useful. And nowadays, of course, people throw everything away.
Yeah,
and,
it's crazy.
It is crazy.
If John Donnelly, God rest him, and I used to do this when we went walking at Easter time down the middle bank of the canal, all the way down to the Loch Chamber, down on the river. You would see all the discarded plastic of the Christmas gifts, the Santa Claus gifts, dumped and washed up at the high tide mark on there. And you'd still see it to this day. We're a society that doesn't care. We throw things away
Yeah,
all the
I
time.
think probably it'll have to change
Yeah,
in some way
absolutely.
or other. because-
Well, it's changing already in the sense I had a man sitting in that chair this morning, a man called Charlie Digney.
I know
And
Charlie.
the young fella. He's the man who,
director.
yeah, he's the
Yes.
man. He'll bury you and he'll get you a house. He'll do well, I suppose burying is getting you a
In
house.
which
a
order?
sense. Well, indeed, this is the thing. But he was saying to me that the house prices now, an average house, 130,000. Well, that's doable for a couple, both of them working. But people have now caught themselves on. They're not wasting money. They're not throwing things away, so to speak. They're being careful because they need to be careful. And only in being so careful can they afford to go and buy a house. What's this here? This is nice. Is this where was this concert?
It's a DVD, The Sands
Yeah.
Family, we made in Uri Town Hall.
Wow.
And,
Sean, could we look at these, please? Just a little close-up, please, if we could, and we'll tell the people what these are, because there's a lovely feel to it for a start.
is,
It's a
yeah.
nice production. Can you get that, Sean?
It is a lovely night.
And we'll talk about each of these, because I want to make sure that we know that we have the full shelf of your magnificence available to us. So that was a night in the town hall.
A night in the town
Was that the
hall.
one for
Sort of the 40th anniversary
yeah,
type of
that was the
thing.
big thing. It's not
Yes.
40 years, is it?
It's more than one. In fact,
My
I remember
God.
the first time that you
Another
took a
one for
photograph
you,
of us
Sean.
for the Frontier Sentinel
I did.
in the Prookill Hall in Uri.
Wow. I was in the Frontier. That's another one. This one here is Singing of the Times.
That is the first CD that I made.
And I let me see what's on it. Just stay with me, Sean. Don't go away. Yeah, there were roses.
Yes.
All the little children. Humpty Dumpty. Ah, yeah. Misty Moor. In the misty morn shore.
That's right.
Early in the morning, just at the break of day. I remember it. My family grew up with this, Tommy.
Yes.
It did indeed. And here's the next one. This is a more recent one.
It is.
This is Let the Circle Be Wide. Yeah, you see that, Sean? This is a nice one.
That's one with my son and daughter, actually.
Everybody's there, the whole
Yeah,
lot of you
yes.
there. Yeah, it's lovely. Yeah. And then this is really rather medieval.
This is actually a mural in Belfast.
Wow.
Between the Shankill and the Falls Road. where
The very proper place for you to be.
Yes.
Because you were always a man of building bridges.
Yeah, well, there's so much value in the other side at all times,
Oh, yeah.
regardless of which side you're on.
Absolutely.
And this was painted up there. It was kind of initiated by kids from both sides
Yeah.
of the divide.
And this here is your book, The Song Man. Now, it's a mighty, mighty thing. Have a look at the book and then come out to the two of us again, Sean. That's the book, The Song Man. And it's a mighty thing for a man who writes songs to suddenly write a book. You know.
I suppose, it's part of the same thing in a sense, Ron. You're telling a story, and the song is a story too,
Yeah.
Aber and Aaron is the way to say it in the Irish.
Yeah.
Tell the song.
Tell the song.
As if it's a story,
And you were photographed in Duffner's in Uri there. I know this thing.
That's right, Duffner's, yes.
Yeah, God knows. And we all were there.
Yes.
Tommy, we've come. It's not a long road. We've come an interesting road.
Yes, it's been winding and hilly at times and beautiful.
And we've met people along the way. Amazingly, we've met people along the way. People who have enriched our lives and challenged us,
Yeah.
I think where you were singing, where Colin was singing the other day, the Christian Renewal Centre, the man who started it all down there at the Christian Renewal Centre, the pastor there, who was the chaplain,
Cecil Kerr.
Cecil Kerr,
Yeah, great
and
man.
Cecil has passed on to his
Yes,
reward. We met Cecil. It was a great influence. And at the other end of the spectrum, you met a man called Tom Newman.
Yes,
And Tom and you did things on the Tubular Bells and with children, and the thing about the men who built the dam.
The Moran Valley Dam, or the Silent Valley Dam, yes. Yeah, we would run different schools. Actually, we brought schools together, the Catholic and Protestant schools. Kids who lived in the same village but didn't know each other because we went to different schools. So we got kind of a mutual place, and we sat down and we wrote songs with the kids about the place. Maybe the river that ran through the village, or the the fair day that everybody could associate with.
Mm.
In fact, I did one in 2 villages in Tyrone, Knocknacloy and Ballygawley. And so we did it about the actual road which runs between the two.
Would Knocknacloy have been the Catholics and Ballygawley the Protestants in broad terms?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, and I know that to be the case because Ballygawley has the cricket pitch.
That would be a good indicator.
A good
Yes.
And there's like a kind of a clock tower on the pavilion, I think. I've just remembered. But isn't it interesting, the things that define us and how we go through life?
Yes, and you know, all reflections of our strange history and how we deal with it. Because I mean, history is not about strangers; it's about you and me in the morning after. Really,
It is indeed.
and it's about dealing with all that. And we're doing. I think people are dealing very well with it at the moment.
They are, in spite of the things we see in Belfast. People are dealing with it very well, and there is a constancy of good in the community, and we trip across it all the time. But I mean, the road to peace still stretches ahead of us.
Oh yes, I mean it is a process, for sure. I think the idea of come to a stage to say we have now peace, almost in any situation, it's not valid. It's always a process that has to be worked on in all areas.
I had a thought. I'm sharing this with you, Tommy, because mea culpa, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa. And I had an occasion recently when I looked onto the horizon of my mind, and there he was, the hawk. He was hovering, my Taliban self.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'd been in beautiful company with lovely people, and we got to talking, and there was a particularly contentious issue arose.
Yes.
It was abortion.
Yes.
And I would have certain views on it. So, in defense of the unborn child, I was going to kill, with words, those who surrounded me in my little place, my little place of conversation and friendship. And there I was recognizing that within me was the Taliban self, that I could have done that, and but for the good offices of those who were with me, and who refused to let friendship die, and but for the hidden voice of peace in my other side of my head, saying I must contact these people and talk, a lifetime of friendship would have disappeared.
Yes, these are all big,
And isn't that how it
complex
grows?
issues that are not
Isn't
simple
it how it
indeed.
grows?
That's true.
Just grows and grows and grows. Yeah.
That's right.
The book, how did you do the book, Tommy? What did you take yourself off into the hills, or did you just do it day by day, or every month you would return to it and go away? And
I started, you know, I had the notion of writing a book, Ron, and people would, you know, they would say, as often people would say, why don't you write a book, and so on. I began that book on a train journey from Vermont to Washington, D.C.
my God.
Back about, I can't remember, 10 years ago maybe I began it. But I got a seat in the train, and usually when I sit in the train, I like to be looking forward.
Yeah,
But
of
I
course.
couldn't get one of those seats. I was looking back, so I was actually reversing from
Yes.
Vermont to Washington. But I felt that I was furrowing and burrowing into my own past in doing that. And suddenly these things started to fly past me, and stories that I'd forgotten. And so I began writing on that
train journey.
On that train journey.
And it's significant in America. And Pete Seeger's on the front page speaking about you. Here, his words. This is you on the front page. Pete saying, "Tommy Sands has achieved that difficult but wonderful balance between knowing and loving the traditions of his home and being concerned with the future of the whole world." What a compliment.
Well, indeed, I learned so much from Pete, and he's 94 now.
Wow.
And in fact, I'm going to see him in 2 weeks' time. And
Goodness
he
gracious.
lives in a small log cabin in the high banks of the Hudson River.
Wow.
And his wife just died a few weeks ago, so I'm calling up to see him.
Isn't that wonderful? Because you go to America and you take the trouble to go and see this old gentleman of 90 recognizing in your heart's core the influence he's had on your life, the moments that you've thought of him and gone, I'm glad I know Pete Seeger, you know.
Yes, I mean, he's very important to me in a way. When I was studying theology and moral philosophy and all these things, it was songs from Pete Seeger coming through on records. It influenced me a lot because within that was a social philosophy and morality that was even more important in many ways. And then when we got to meet him, in fact, we had a great night at his 90th birthday. There was a big party in Madison Square Garden, and all sorts of people were there, Joan Baez, all those people. But Tim Robbins was the MC, he's an actor. And Tim came in, and I said, Tim, when are we on? I was a bit nervous. He said, he took a look at the list, he says, I guess you're on just immediately after Chris Christopherson and before Bruce Springsteen.
Wow!
No pressure. And actually there was no pressure because people left their egos at the door like overcoats on a warm summer's evening, because Pete had lit the fire and kindled it and kept it warm and kept us all warm. So it is a wonderful night.
Goodness gracious! And when you go to see Pete in his antiquity,
Yes.
The welcome you will get will be strong. What will it be?
Well, he gave me a hug and he'd bring me into it's a log cabin which he built himself on the banks of the Hudson, way up in the hills actually. And we'd just start talking, and he'll have a banjo in his knee, and he'll sing some song that he's just written. Yeah, I know. I'll say, how are you, Pete? And he'll say, not too well. I can't hear very well, and I can't sing very well either. But before 5 minutes, he's singing some new song he's written. So he's a man who looks ahead all the time.
Yeah.
Even though he's got 94 years to look back at.
Yeah.
He's always
Isn't that
looking
interesting?
ahead. Yes.
And the social conscience is still there. Yes.
Very much. And the sense of hope in humanity is very much still there.
Yeah. Have you hope in humanity? Because you've travelled the world, you've seen conflict in many, many places. Are we naturally predisposed to good or to evil?
I think both. And as you mentioned earlier on about the hawk, I think all that is within each one of us. And it depends what we want to bring to the surface. And certain behavior or certain experiences will bring one or the other to the surface. So as I travel around the place, I prefer to meet people who inspire me. I prefer to read things that inspire me. I have no time to read stuff that's going to pull me down, to pull that negative side of me up. So I think within us all, and certainly goes through the politics and the religion and everything else, all the same elements are within us, and I think it's just a matter of, it's up to us to bring the positive to the top.
You're making me smile with great happiness. I thank you for that.
But you do it all the time, Ron. You come in, you give the bright side of things. And
sure.
We're all aware of everything else, but you know, if you dwell on it, it pulls you down.
Yeah, you might be lying in the gutter, but you're looking up to the stars.
Exactly.
And that's it. Did you see the meteorites or the Pleiades storm the other night? I didn't. I was laying in my bed.
I didn't, you know.
I could. And the woman was telling me on the radio, go outside now and you'll see it all. This frightened me because I thought, here I am. I'm in my bed. It's 9 o'clock at night. I know I have to be up at 4 in the morning for this business here, the show, to come in and get everything going and all the rest of it, get myself ready. And I actually took a decision. I don't want to see the universe. I'm going to go to sleep.
Yes.
Because I had a universe in my own head, which could see. I didn't have to go outside to see the stars falling.
Yeah, yes.
Because I'd seen them. And I remember, you remember the time of the Hale-Bopp comet, about 10, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when Hale-Bopp was hanging in the north, I would think it had been the northwestern sky. There it was. And it was there, big presence. It was there for 6 months. And every day people would come out to you and say, did you see the comet last night? and people got talking.
Yes.
Did you see the comet? Wasn't it great?
Yes.
What is it at all, they'd be asking.
Yes, yes.
And that's the same sort of thing, because I have a million asteroids, a million comets in my head, in my vision. We've been there, we've seen them.
Yes, yes.
And we have cruised the ocean of the universe within our hearts and in our minds.
Yes.
But you still have confidence in all of what we're about.
Oh, I think so. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. And you know, the what's out there in space it's an incredible story. And actually, another man I'm going to see in the States now. I'm going to a seminar in Michigan actually, but on my way there, I'm going to meet Pete, and I'm going to meet this man called Bart Jordan, that was introduced to me by Tommy Macomb many
God
years
rest
ago.
him.
Indeed, Tommy was a great man, but this is a friend of Tommy, who was a child genius, and he spoke ancient Hellenic and Aramaic without ever learning it. So he's in touch with another civilization, and he, to make a long story short, he had a vision when he was a child of a woman, 3 children, and a burning ball. He went to school the next day, and it was a Catholic school in somewhere north of New York. And the nun said, "Don't be saying you saw that. You're going to be saying that it is the Virgin Mary that appeared to you next. Don't be talking like that." But there's a priest in the school. He says, "Come with me tomorrow for a drive." And they picked up a Jewish rabbi that he had gone to theological college with. And they arrived in Princeton. The wee boy didn't know he was in Princeton. And there's this old man came out of a room, long white hair, and he was playing a comb and a bit of paper. And he says, "Can you do that?" He says to the wee lad, Bart Jordan. "You could." He says, "Right," he says, "tell me about this vision you had." Well, it's a woman, a burning ball, and 3 children, and the woman had a tunic with, a dress with letters and numbers written on it. "Yes," he says. "What were the numbers?" So the wee lad could remember everything. 5496.72981 or something like that. The old man says, "You've got 2 numbers after the point more than what I have." He says, "I'll use your figures." Now it turned out this is Einstein, who is studying relativity and the relationship between speed and light and sound and all these things.
Wow.
And anyway, Bart Jordan grew up. He joined NASA. He also learned guitar with Segovia in Spain. But he always wanted to know what was this vision about. He met a woman eventually, this sounds crazy now, who could communicate with stones. And he says, "What is this vision about?" She says, "What's your vision?" "When I was a child, 3 children, a woman, burning ball." The woman's face slackened into a smile. She says, "Easy peasy. Why don't you ask me something hard?" "What does it mean?" says he. "Well," she says, "the woman was indeed the Virgin." Didn't say what virgin.
Yes.
"The 3 children were the 3 children of Fatima."
Wow.
"What about the burning ball?" says Bart Jordan. "The burning ball is Mars." Now, the message, man lived on Mars, gained what was called the knowledge, was where spiritual knowledge and scientific knowledge meet.
Yeah.
Misused the knowledge, burnt the planet, but had already got sufficient knowledge to be able to, with angles and so on, to go to another place. They came here, and they are now burning the earth, and there's no place to go. And she says that was the message. So the wee lad says, "What about these 3 children of Fatima? One is still alive at this time. Lucia, Sister Lucia. Where does she live?" "Carmelite Convent in Rome."
Wow.
"I'd like to speak to Sister Lucia." "Wouldn't everyone like to speak to Sister Lucia? Have you a message?" He wrote down the message, handed it in through the little, and I know Carmelite Convents, you probably do too.
I do.
You can't see them, you hand the
in
message
through,
in.
yeah.
So the nun went away, and she came back sometime later, and she says, "Sister Lucia does not want to talk to you. In fact, your message has upset her greatly." But Bart Jordan noticed on the piece of paper, tears. Now, Bart Jordan is now 85 years of age, and he's written several incredible things, a lot from intuition, but also from scientific knowledge and reduction and so on.
Yeah.
And so the conference I'm going to in Michigan is a conference of artists and scientists, two coming together. So it's anyway. Sorry, I got
No, it's just such a wonderful story.
Yeah.
And the thing about that story is that the provenance is actual, is factual, it's real, it's demonstrable, it's evidential, it's all of those things. So there are stranger things out there than are known to the mind of man.
Well, I think it's very arrogant of us to say there is no God, or there is this, or there is that.
Yeah.
We know so little. We don't have the mental muscles to even get in to know about that stuff. But we're only a small part of the journey.
Are you going to play me a song? Will you do something for me?
Well, if I could do something now after all that. Let me see, Rob.
Sure, it'll be wonderful.
Well, I could do a local one.
Ah, yes.
A song that I wrote about the people who have been leaving down through the years and still leaving, but always with the great hopes of coming back, if not in body, in spirit. I followed them down to the boat. They didn't want me to come. They said, there must be no crying. I'll be long enough alone, I said. And I watched my two strong sons. And they were children again, with the tears in their eyes. And there were tears of leaving and loving. And there were tears of dreaming. When you're out walking and there's no one near you, but a voice keeps calling and you hear your name. It's not the leaves or the whispering breezes, it's me that's calling you back again. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you roam through lonely London town, when evening's falling, you'll hear me calling, come on home to the county down. Do you remember fiddlers playing songs and stories the whole night long? It's little then that you thought of leaving. It seems so strange now that you were gone. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you roam through lonely London town, when evening's falling, you'll hear me calling, come on home to the county down. I'm always dreaming that things are changing and that they're building a factory tall, and the young ones needed again in Newry, but I still need you most of all. Oh, can you hear me? Oh, can you hear me? As you roam through lonely London town, when evening's falling, you'll hear me calling, come on home, the county down.
You've been given, a great, great gift.
Thank you,
Blessed.
Ron.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Ron. Pleasure.
Stay with me and we'll say for